Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation on how I went from blowing evals to making $7,636 in 30 days. First thing I need to do obviously is show proof of me actually making this money. Here's the proof of the trades that I took. As you can see, these were my wins. I had one loss, this win, this win. Obviously this isn't proof. I wanted to put this here because you see so much, especially on like Instagram and TikTok, on Twitter as well, where people are posting, their winning trades or like, I made $3,000 today, and they post a picture like this. Even if this had executions on it, this doesn't even have executions. Obviously, I just screenshotted random charts. It doesn't mean anything, right? This is not proof of anything. If you're believing this stuff, this is you. Obviously, don't believe this stuff. This is ridiculous. And yeah, it just annoys me that so many people are genuinely making lots of money off courses or affiliates, and this is the type of proof they show. Yeah, obviously this isn't proof. This is actually my proof here. As you can see, this is a funded account, and I've got almost $9,000 in the account. Again, this is not proof. This is not proof. This is you. This is you. Look, here's another account that I have with 100 million trillion in it. Again, this is just on Chrome. You can inspect element and make this say whatever you want. You see people promoting courses off this. It's just ridiculous. This isn't proof either. Here is, I think, about the best you can do when you're trading on a prop firm. Here up the top, you can see I trade on Lucid, and these are 3 Lucid payouts. These are, consistent back to back over about a month or slightly less than a month. 30 trading days, like I said at the start. And if you've ever been paid out with Lucid, you know that you get paid from here, it goes into your work market account, or at least if you're international like I am, because I'm Australian, and then you withdraw it from your work market account into your bank account. And then I have this here. Now, I've scribbled out some of the stuff. I don't know if I need to scribble this all out, but I didn't want to show any sort of bank details or anything. But let me tell you, to put this slide together with this proof on it took me genuinely maybe 3 minutes. I literally just opened up these tabs and then took screenshots of it. If anyone's trying to sell a course or is promoting anything, or even is just trying to teach stuff, and they aren't showing this, which is literally, like I said, took 3 minutes, I would just be wary, or not, do whatever you want. But, before I've been getting payouts was watching people to learn how to trade. And, I never saw stuff like this for some reason. Magically, these people who claim to be making money aren't showing it, or at least a very small amount of them are. So, yeah, anyway, just wanted to show that. The next question you probably have is, what got me to get these payouts? How did I go from blowing all my valuations to getting these payouts? What did I do? Well, I've got sort of 3 things that I'm gonna speak on here. First thing, influencers, and specifically not watching them. So here I've put this little thing together. Let me draw some lines with the 3 tiers of content. This is all just my opinion, but I think it's a good opinion. So first off, you have the bottom tier here, which is just literally like slop content. I guess C tier, the bottom tier of influencers you can be watching. If you're learning how to trade, or if you're getting into trading, you're probably just going to Google it, and these are the people that are going to pop up. I was lucky enough to have traded previously to getting into prop firms and trading futures, and was able to just, skip out on the whole watching these people. But, a lot of people start watching this sort of stuff. I feel like most of the time this stuff is genuinely worse than just not watching anything. I think you're much better off watching some of the other stuff that I'm going to talk about now. The second tier, which I guess I can call B tier, is the live trading type stuff. Now, I got a picture of Top Step TV. This is the first live thing I started watching. I started trading with Top Step all the way back in 2023, I think it was, which was like prime Top Step. They've kind of fallen now off the top, but they used to be really good. And I would watch Top Step TV. Now, obviously, I think everyone's tried to just copy trade off someone else live trading. And if you have tried that, you know that it doesn't work, at least over a long period of time, because of delay, because of you're trading different account sizes and all that. So I wouldn't watch this to copy trade. What I would often do is watch not just Top Step TV, but other people who actually, show proof that they know how to trade, watching them trade live, but specifically watching it before the market opens, just to sort of see what they're looking at. And I did this for a while, and the issue that I kept running into was, for example, you'd be watching a live stream before market open, maybe the market's doing this, and all this time, whoever you're watching is talking about the market going along, right? They keep talking about how they think it's going to pump on the open or whatever. and then the market opens and it pumps and you get long and you take profit and you make money, right? And it's like, great, you made money. But then I would always think, did I actually make that money, or was it just because I heard someone else talking about taking longs, right? And I never really liked that, because I actually want to know what I'm doing, right? Not just rely on somebody else, because what if they're not streaming, or what if you want to trade at a different time, or what if they start losing, right? And the same thing would happen if the market goes short. Maybe it goes short, I get long, and I lose. And then I'm thinking, well, if I didn't watch that live stream, maybe I would have got short, or at least not gotten long. And it just has you questioning, like, are your decisions actually your decisions, or are you just listening to these people? And for that reason, I just cut it out. And I really think after, probably for your first 6 months or year of trading, it's not a bad idea to just watch other people so you can learn how other people are seeing things. In that first year, you're really just trying lots of different stuff and seeing what you like. So I don't think it's a bad idea. But it comes a point where you kind of like, you're having the same ideas these people are having, and you don't need to be watching it anymore. And then the top tier of content, which I'll call A tier, is stuff like trading psychology videos, but more, it's like any video where it talks about trading, but there's no actual trading in it, right? It's more like people documenting trades, people talking about losses, or people talking about, how they've overcome issues in their trading and stuff like that. Sort of like the video I'm making now, that would count. Content like that, where it seems much more real and it doesn't really have an influence on your trades immediately in the market. Like it's not a live stream. It's just more the idea of trading, I guess. And I think this is the best thing you can watch, because it just helps you learn yourself. And some people that I will recommend in this area is this guy called Do More and Diego. Sort of, I'm sure you've seen channels like this where they just document their journey of trading. So I think with Diego, he's been like posting a video daily from just blowing accounts over and over again to now getting payouts. And it's like a year long, he has 400 videos, and you can go through and watch them all. And he doesn't tell you to do anything. He doesn't claim he knows what he's doing. He doesn't sell anything. It's just him documenting it and talking about it. And I think that can be really beneficial to look at, especially if you're in the same spot. You can see that other people are also doing the same thing. And it's not just this fake, influencers making $100,000 a day with no proof and telling you to buy their course. So stuff like this, I think, is the best content you can be watching. This period when I got those 3 payouts in 30 days, I was watching nothing. I completely just cut it all out because I didn't want to be influenced by anything. And also, hopefully, by the time I post this video, I'll be able to put some more payouts on the screen. Hopefully, I've got more since then. But I just wanted to talk about this. Where's my picture? These 3 that I got, because they were like consistent back to back. And that's obviously what you're trying to do. It doesn't matter if you can take one payout. A lot of people talk about the first payout and like, it only took me 3 months to get my first payout. Oh, it took me 6 months to get mine. It doesn't matter, right? If you put $3,000 into trading and then get a $1,000 payout, you're still at a $2,000 loss, right? It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter how quick you do that. That's the other thing. I don't know, maybe this is a bit of a side note, but this is another thing you see people doing all the time, is talking about how quickly they got their first payout. It genuinely really means nothing. If you're getting your first payout before like a year of trading, sure, there's skill involved. There's a lot of luck involved as well. And you'll see people be like, oh, trading's so easy. I got my first payout in 2 months. The issue with that is you'll never hear them say how much they spent to get that payout, right? You could get someone who's never traded before and they could get their first payout in their first 2 weeks of trading. If they spend 10 grand on Evals and just full port everything, you're going to get a payout, right? You're still going to be down money. So people who are just pushing for these payouts quickly, it doesn't mean anything, because how much did you spend to get that? And how much did you actually learn getting that? It doesn't matter if you can get one for 1 month and then, you get one 6 months later. You need to be hitting them consistently. You need to be making more than you spend month over month. And that's what you're aiming to do. And of course, the first payout is an achievement. It doesn't really matter when you do it, is what I'm trying to say, I guess. So the next thing, not being stupid. So this was had a big influence on making money, is not doing stupid stuff. It sounds obvious, but trading seems easy until you actually start doing it. What I realized is I was getting past evals, I was passing them, and I was blowing the funded accounts because of stupid reasons. And these funded accounts were just getting blown over and over and over and over and over because I would do stupid stuff. I would always have like a few really good days of trading, and then I would do one of these things and I'd blow the whole account. It almost was because I got to a point where I could pass evals quickly. I wasn't really caring about the funded accounts as much, which became an issue because then you just burn through them. And one of the worst things you can do, or at least in my opinion, is get a payout and then be like, oh, I'm up $1,000, so I can spend $1,000 to get my next one. It makes sense, but then, your sort of thought process changes. It's not about trading well. It's sort of about like, I just have to spend less than $1,000 to get another one. And it's not a good way to go about it, at least in my opinion. Anyway, so what I would do is I realized I was doing this stuff over and over again. And instead of trying to cut it all out at once, obviously I tried to do that, but it's really hard when you have these bad habits to just get rid of them all. And this can be applied to if you're evals as well. It doesn't have to be funded accounts. If you're trying to pass evals, it's the same idea. So what I would do is I would get a funded account and I would trade it just as I was normally trading it. And then when I blew it, because I would just write down the reason why I blew it. The first time it would be, just for example, it was because I kept moving my stop. I was in a trade like this and it was chopping around, and then it goes down near my stop and I move it lower, and then it goes down and I move it lower, and then it goes down, I move it lower, and then it blows my account. And all I would do is I go, all right, I made a stupid mistake. I'm not going to do that again. And to make sure I didn't, I would cross it off. Like I had a list of stupid things and I would cross it off, moving my stop. And then the next funded account I had, I wouldn't say that I couldn't do all these things. I just couldn't make the same mistake as the last one. So I would trade it. And then maybe there was news coming out. And for some reason I get in along, the news comes out, it absolutely dumps and blows my account. And then I'd be like, okay, another stupid mistake. I'm going to cross this one off. Don't trade during the news or right before the news. And then when I would get the next funded account, I would make sure I didn't do either of these two things. I could do these other things. I just can't do these two. And eventually, after blowing a lot of funded accounts, I was able to cross off everything. And then what do you know? When it got to the end and I had most of these things crossed off, I got those 3 consistent payouts back to back. And it sounds easy, but it was hard to just drop them all at once. I don't know, maybe you would be able to do that. But for me, it was like trying to cut out every stupid thing was really hard. But just being able to say like, okay, you can't move your stop, but you're allowed to do a little revenge trading. You're allowed to trade back to back to back. Just don't move your stop. And I'd blow account doing that. And then I'd be like, all right, you can't revenge trade. You can't move your stop, but you can add to your losing trades. You can add really heavy to your losing trades. And then I'd blow an account doing that. And then once I'd done all the stupid things over and over again, it just sort of came a point where it was enough and I locked in and didn't keep doing them. I don't know. But that was a big thing that did it for me. Maybe it's different for you, but I'm just talking about what worked for me, and that was one of the things. Now, the third thing that really helped, and this was honestly, might have been the biggest thing that actually got me those consistent payouts was, it won't let me change slides, was changing my expectations. Now, what I did was, let me move this so I have room to draw. Again, I covered this number. If anyone knows, do I have to cover this number or not? I don't know. I kept getting, I trade 50K accounts and I still do because they're the easiest to pass in terms of how much drawdown you have for how much profit you need to make, like ratio. Anyway, for some reason I had in my head for a long time, I don't know why, I had in my head that I wanted to make 3,000 in the funded account so I could take out 1,000 and be left with 2,000. Because when you're left with 2,000, it's like having a fresh funded account. So it'd be like I got a payout and I have a brand new funded account. It wouldn't leave me at a smaller drawdown. I have no clue where I got this idea from. I must have heard someone say it somewhere. And it was in my head for so long that I needed to make at least 3,000 before I was going to take a payout. And I stopped counting because it was so bad how many times I would get to 2,800 and blow the account, or 2,700 and blow the account, or 2,500 and blow the account, or even 2,100 and I'd blow the account. And I'd be eligible for a payout on all of these, right? Because I'd be hitting maybe $300 days, $200 days, and I'd be well eligible for a payout, like right here. And I would never click this button because I wanted to hit 3,000 first. I shouldn't have been doing that, right? If I had that 2,000, just to say I have a 2,500, I can do two things. I can take out just the 500 and still be left with 2,000 and get a payout. It cost me, I think the lucid accounts with the discounts, like it cost me $85 for the account. I can take out 500. That's a great return, right? And then something just changed. I don't know what it was. Something clicked in my head finally. And I went, hold on a second. If I make 2,000, I can take out 1,000. And that's like a 10x return, right? Like we were saying before. If the account is $85 and I turn that into $1,000 or, with the profit split, $900, that's still a 10x return. Where else can you 10x your money, right? That's insane. So even if I can just get 2,000 consistently, I'm consistently 10xing money. And when I switched that idea, suddenly it became so much easier. And it was because I knew already, I don't like I said, I stopped counting how many times I had reached 2,000 and then blown the account. When I changed my mindset to I just have to get the 2,000 and I will take a payout, suddenly I started being able to do it, and I started being able to do it consistently. And if we go back to my payouts, you can see my payouts are around that $1,000 mark, and you can take 50% out. So for example, this payout down here, I would have really had $2,288 in the account, and then I took half out, and that's that payout. Purely just because now I wasn't pushing for this 3,000 number, and I was able to just take the payouts. And a lot of the accounts, after I would take the payout, I'd be left with, like $1,000 in the account, and I would blow it. Even if you blow it, that's a 10x return still. If you're able to get more payouts, it's just, you're with no extra cost, you're making even more. You can be a 20x return, a 30x return, which is just insane. And it's a crazy amount of money to be making sitting around on your computer. Yeah, this was another big thing. I mean, all the things I've talked about were big things that got me those payouts, but this was really the main one. It was just the idea of you don't have to hit a certain target and in a certain amount of time, and it was just putting this unnecessary pressure where I could just go, hey, just trade how you were trading. You're going to be able to get eligible at 2,000 because I'd done it so many times, and then just click the button. Now, the asterisk that I put, as you can see at the start here, I said 7,000 in 30 days with an asterisk. That's because I made 7,630 days, but I only was able to withdraw half of that, right? Because it's a lucid flex account. The rules are different on all the accounts, but most of the time you can withdraw half of your balance. If it was a live account, it would have been that much. But then, of course, if you hit the extra winning days, you can withdraw more. But I wanted to kind of speak on this because a lot of people, especially like I said before on Instagram, on Twitter, you see people boasting these $10,000 months or weeks. Even a $10,000 week might only translate to a $2,000 payout, right? I can make $10,000 on my Lucid account. My max payout is $2,000 per payout. So I'm only taking $2,000. I could easily then blow the account before I get my next 5 winning days. And that $10,000 week turns into a $2,000 week, right? Just be wary of again, when influencers and people are showing these numbers, unless you're seeing the actual payouts, it's just assume it's not real because you're going to have a great win rate just assuming the stuff you're seeing isn't real. And that just is another reason why cutting them out and just cutting everything out probably is going to help you. Again, if you're past the point where you're physically learning how to trade, right? You're learning a strategy, or you're learning, what the buttons do. Once you're sort of past that, which you'll probably get past in 6 months or a year or so, you can just cut it out. And even if you just try it, right? Like I said, after I got those payouts, I'm now back to watching some stuff, but just try it. Just go, for the next month or for the next couple of weeks, I'm not going to look at anything. I'm just going to trade my own. I'm not going to get influenced by anything, and you're probably going to do better. All right, and my final words. Thank you for watching. If anyone is still watching, this video is probably going to get about 3 views. So if you're one of the 3 and you're still watching, feel free to ask any questions you have, because I'm sure I'm going to be able to answer anything. I also have an Instagram, which is just Meow Trades. So you can follow that if you want. Apart from that, I have nothing to sell you. I have no affiliates. But yeah, the only reason I made this video is hopefully it helps someone. I don't know. It's good seeing, at least for me, it's nice seeing realistic stuff like this. And having people just talk about what they do. Even if you can just use some of the stuff I've talked about, maybe none of it applies to you, maybe you can try some stuff out, whatever. Hopefully it helps. So yeah, see you guys around.